Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Meeker, and I will be presenting Chapter 2 in John Gray's Seven Types of Atheism book, covering secular humanism. So, to begin, we're going to start with defining secular humanism and introducing um, this idea. And so, it's an idea that rejects any God or a notion of um, a supernatural being. So it was founded during the Enlightenment, the Renaissance time period, around 14th to 15th century. And with this rejection of a superior being, a god, uh, in turn, it's an ideology that humans are the one and only true means of life and progress. And, and with this, a humanist is then considered either to be agnostic or atheist solely on the principle that they do not believe that a higher power um, is put above that of humans and has a supernatural control and oversight on what happens here in the physical world on Earth. And continuing, it's this belief that humans are good and have an optimistic mindset, that man does what man does for the good of man. And so um, the actions and the rationale are all done with and thought of, manifested to promote the good of humanity. Secular humanism is also coined, there's also the term just humanism um, to, to encompass the broad uh, aspect of what it means to work solely for the good of man. And so to finalize this definition, humans are responsible for their own well-being, and with this, the individual well-being promotes the well-being of everyone, of the whole welfare. So Bertrand Russell was a skeptic of secular humanism, and his perspective is very unique and raises a lot of questions on the main theme and core of this presentation, which is morality, which we'll get to soon. Um, and so, a really important quote is that Russell says, Gray writes, he believed that reason did not move human beings on action. Only the passions could do that, and reason was their servant. But if reason cannot fix human ends, it certainly cannot remake the human world. All it can do is enable beings to achieve their goals more efficiently, whatever their goal means. Um, so, as I note here, I think the key in this in this quote is that final sentence, the last line, where the motives of certain reason and rationale. Um, there's the gray area is that it can be compromised and twisted and let to be interpreted to the individual. It can become more self-motivated rather than the preservation of everyone, which goes against the true definition of secular humanism, where the progression of humans is the goal, and that humanity is put first. Let's continue. Okay, so John Stuart Mill um, was he was born without any religious influence. And so he was born in the Victorian time period. So this is very rare, especially where religion is so prominent. And centuries before, there were wars fought over religion. And so for one to be born with this um, innate non-bias is very unique. And so um, his exploration of religion and finding his purpose is very interesting. He pondered the idea of God, of a monotheistic belief, but was left unsatisfied. And so with this, he transitioned into this liberal humanism, this more progressive term, and he was nicknamed the Saint of Rationalism. And he was he was utilitarian, but was conflicted by the ethics of utilitarianism because of the idea that one will do whatever it takes to seek happiness. And so this is where his belief in rationale and leaving the individual up to chance for the actions that they make, whether they're going to be, self-motivated and seeking self-preservation, or for the good of society, the general welfare. Um, so it seems like a problematic and open-ended mission statement that didn't sit right with the saint of rationalism. He's coined with this nickname, but he's always questioning himself throughout his life with his faith and where his morals and his rationale fall. So continuing, and this is where we start getting introduced to morality. Um, Gray writes, and continue with John Mill. Moral and intellectual pleasures were higher; those of the body were lower. He had no doubt that the former were more satisfying than the latter. And essentially, this is saying that our ability as humans to think is and should be our most desired gift, as we are the most intelligent species among all else on earth. And it's not um, lust and bodily pleasures that are the true gift, and that those alone don't promote uh, the continuing evolution of society and the progression of humankind. It's our minds, and we are blessed because we are seen as the most intelligent versus that of a pig or a dog who doesn't have this ability to to seek comprehension like humans. He believed any rational person would want to promote collective well-being rather than their own self-interest. But if self-interest and general welfare are at odds, why opt for self-sacrifice? And so this is where the first question of the ethics of humanism is left to the individual and then collectively the masses. So it starts with at a micro level, and then the welfare of everyone is seen as a macro perspective. So with that, the faith of welfare is in the hands of the individual. Yet not every individual shares the same morals in secular humanism, and we're going to touch on that as we dive into morality more. Okay, so that was kind of a preview of the main theme of this whole chapter that I really wanted to touch. And secular humanism rejects any ideologies derived from monotheistic religions. And with this comes a gray area of morality. And this quote supports this. It writes, "Without a lawgiver, what can a universal moral law mean? If you think of morality as part of the natural behavior of the human animal, you find that humans do not live according to a single moral code unless you think one of them has been mandated by God." And so, since they reject any monotheistic belief, whereas Christians are, they're supported and guided by for example, the Ten Commandments, setting a standard that every Christian should follow. It's a base moral code, whereas the moral code is a little more skewed with secular humanism and left up to the individual more so. Human beings develop moralities as a normal part of living with each other, but no single morality is uniquely human. So different societies, different cultures share different moralities, but we're all considered to be of the human kind. So this clash of self-interest, self-preservation with the good of the welfare arises within this. And so to to finish off, there's a hole in this belief of secular humanism between rationale and passion. Passion is said by Bertrand Russell to be the true driving force in human progression. However, if morality is defined by rationale, where is the line drawn where passion exceeds that of the well being of everyone and isn't solely motivated? So, with this, um, there seems to be an uncut line by giving the individual um, the trusting the individual to look out for the welfare of everyone, which is the end goal of secular humanism. But if our individual passions are what truly drives human progression, which is that goal, the goal of preserving humanity and continuing to improve together, is if the only way to do that is through passion, which sets aside rationale and simple morals, then are we relying on those who do not share the same morals, whether they be good or bad, than others? To Are we relying on them to promote human growth, or um, is rationale and the goodness of individuals the driving force? And so I think this is where um, the skepticism of secular humanism arises from, and what's the true um, source, and what's the true way of promoting the good of everyone and the progression of humankind. Um, Thank you very much, and hope everyone has a great day.